So the next big issue is basically with the practices of our corporations these days. You have two main issues, which are commercialization and a lack of innovation. So, starting with the lack of innovation, capitalism is aligned with public interest basically when you have innovation. When you're making new products for people to buy, then you are providing the world with something that it didn't have before, right? So if I have a flip phone and then the smartphone comes out, well, this is great. I'm going to go out and I'm going to buy a smartphone. But then when you have the iPhone 16 and the iPhone 17 comes out, there's not really a lot of innovation there, right? The 17 is basically the same thing as the 16, and therefore you don't have the societal benefit, and people will not really be incentivized to go buy a 17. But so like the public interest is basically like, okay, well, people have enough phones. This company, Apple, should start to shrink, basically. Like, we're not going to need, everybody already has a phone now. We don't need to get phones into more people's hands. We just need to replace the ones that they, as they, break or whatever. So, but this is antithetical to Apple's goals. Apple wants to grow every single year. If they came out and said, "Oh yeah, we only sold 10% of the iPhones that we did last year," then the stock price crashes, people run around with their heads on fire. Oh no. Big problem. So, what they do is they start basically having worse products that they charge more for. You have things like planned obsolescence, and you also have a shift towards a more subscription based model for a lot of things, because that way they can keep having the subscription, month after month, rather than I went out, I bought a product, I have my product, I'm good now. And yeah, so Apple and then telecom companies offer these deals where, because you're not going to go buy a new 17 if you have your 16, but you will subscribe to telecom, and then they'll package up giving you a new iPhone whenever they come out along with that, and kind of build the costs in so you don't see it. But they're now managing to sell you things you don't need, basically, in order to, again, not, and this doesn't benefit society really, it's just to keep Apple going. So this lack of innovation is it again, like the capitalism, it's good when there's innovation, when you're making new products. When you don't have innovation, it starts to just degenerate into this kind of tricky manipulation that benefits the company, keeps their numbers up, but doesn't really provide anything for society. And in fact, really just sucks more and more resources out of the broader society in order to keep Apple going. You're selling people things they don't need. Um, and you have this across, sector after sector. You've got this going on, right? Where, again, like streaming services are, you had originally Netflix came out, huge innovation. You can watch stuff on the internet now. You don't, you watch it when you want, you fast forward, there's no commercials. Uh, but then once that's done, and once that takes over the market share, can't grow anymore. Well, now we start adding, you can't get more customers. You got to squeeze the ones you have for more. Start adding advertisements. Start having multiple subscription services, multiple streaming services to subscribe to. Start having ads again on the streaming services. So again, you just worse products for more money, because they don't have a better one to sell you. So they just have to squeeze you more. Um, and really, the only new thing now in our current economy is AI. And what happened? Boom. instant bubble forms, right? Like the second something comes out that promises we can actually make a new product rather than just exploiting and sucking as much as we can out of the existing ones, you have huge excitement, huge over investment in this thing. And it just the broad point here is that you just have this like gambling with the economy basically, which, as I said in the last video, we are incentivizing chaos. Making these bubbles is chaotic. The AI bubble, the housing crash back in 2008 because they had the bubble with giving loans to people, the dot-com bubble. These are massively chaotic events that are incentivized by the structure of our capitalist economy. And the AI one is bigger than ever. So you have that going on. And then the other part of this, as I said, the commercialization of things. Commercialization is the optimization of profit seeking. So without the innovation, you're doing more and more commercializing to try to squeeze the profits out. And the issue with the commercialization is that it is antithetical to human flourishing. It is, once again, the interests of commercialization are completely opposed to the interests of human flourishing. For example, actually, before I get to the examples, humans are animals and we have physical and psychological needs that it is what it is with people. So now getting to the example, starting with the physical need, you have food, right? People need food and it's good for them to have healthy food, but it's not good for the companies for them to have healthy food. For the companies, they, fast food companies are a big one. They have uh, labs full of chemical engineers who specifically are trying to create the most addictive fry possible, the most addictive burger possible, so that you buy as many of them as they can sell you. And this is bad for people's health. They don't need it. It's bad for them. But the economy must sell, 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 sell. So you see, then Ozempic comes out, right? Ozempic is meant to make you feel full faster, to lower your appetite. And immediately, these companies got their labs trying to work on foods that circumvent the Ozempic, that even if you take Ozempic, eating these foods will still not make you full, like, which is what Ozempic is supposed to do. If you eat 5 fries and you're full, and you take Ozempic, you eat 1 fry and you're full, well, that's a problem for the fry selling guy. So he's out there trying to make it so that he can make a new fry that even when you are on Ozempic, you still have to eat 5 of them, or eat hopefully 6 or 7 or 10 or 100 in order to feel full. So again, it is just completely antithetical to what is good for the capitalist businesses and what is good for the people in the society. Then, of course, you have the psychological needs, where mainly what it comes down to is that people need to socialize. They need friends, they need family, they need loved ones. And again, you have basically the attention economy with streaming services, social media, and then entertainment stuff, right? Like sports, gambling, vacations, where if you are having your psychological needs satisfied by sitting on the couch talking to your friends, going on a walk in the park with your family, then you're not, that is in competition with the people trying to sell you satisfaction on Facebook, on Netflix, through Amazon. through what, whatever vacation or new consumer good that they're trying to put out. If you're satisfied with things that they can't sell you, interaction with friends, then they are going to try to get rid of that as much as they can. And we see that happening where the traditional communities that people have partaken in for, since as long as we've been around, basically, you have parties or family parties, you have churches, gathering places for communities. These are under attack. Not, and people are always like, "Oh, it's the moral degeneration of our society." No, it's because of capitalism and commercialization. Because if you're at church, you're not buying things. If you're spending time with your family, you're not scrolling Facebook. If you're walking in the park with your friends, you're not paying the bar to, or what's a good example? Basically, they're trying to privatize stuff like that. So even if you are hanging out with your friends, you're doing it at some place you have to pay to be, right? And this constant effort to get money out of people at every step of the way for everything, right? You don't, if you go have a family dinner that you cook at home, then no profit is being made by a restaurant that does the labor of cooking the food. No profit is being made by DoorDash to deliver it to you. This is a loss for them. They don't want that. They don't want you doing that. They want each person alone in their apartment, them and their phone, seeing and buying products, giving them all their attention, right? And it is changing the world where it's the classic boomer thing, right? Where they say, "Oh, I can't find a job." And they're like, "Well, did you go and introduce yourself to the manager and shake his hand and say, 'Hello, sir, I would like a job,'" right? That in the old world, that was how things were done. You could be successful, or sorry, a requisite to being successful was your ability to go out and socialize with people well. Whereas now, if you go do that, you try to shake the manager's hand or whatever, what's he going to say? He's going to say, "Go apply online." What are you doing here? We don't do that. So, when you are applying online, doing things over the internet, having less and less human interaction with people, you are changing the world to be more compatible with people who are, say, autistic software engineers who don't really like the whole being social all the time with people. And you see, like, Silicon Valley is filled with these types of people. So, this is all well and good, obviously, for the people who are the Silicon Valley engineers, but most people are not like that. Most people, they like the go and the shake the hand and the talk to people, and it's good for their mental health to have that happen. And by taking that away from people, you are creating a lot of mental issues, right? Like the autism, that was there. I'm talking about like with school shootings. Okay. We've always had a lot of guns in this country. We've always had schools in this country, but they weren't always getting shot up. Now they are. Why is that? It is because we have built a society, or we have allowed our capitalist institutions to build a society that is it's not good for people. They don't flourish in it. It takes away all the things that make the average normie human feel happy and satisfied. It is taking that away and putting it behind a paywall. And we are seeing the results where, again, a lot of people who would have had issues in the previous world are doing much better now. And a lot of people who would have gotten along great in the previous world are now having issues. And it's creating chaos because those people who got along well in the previous world, they're the majority of people. All right. And the world is no longer made for them. It's made for people who like to be on the internet, who like these new things, who love the fact that they can have DoorDash delivered to their home where they can eat it alone rather than having to go to some crowded, noisy restaurant and talk to a waiter. You know, they don't want that. Most people do, but the current society is less and less built for those people, which again is causing chaos. It is incentivizing chaos to be created as essentially these normies are left behind, so to speak. So you have the purely financial side of things where lack of innovation is pushing chaotic business practices. And then you have the commercialization side of things where society is, because it is controlled by these businesses, is becoming less and less and less and less set up for the average person to flourish, and more for people who are not the average to live these lifestyles that, people don't do well under. So basically, what all of this is resulting in is the destruction of the middle class, right? And you can see it all the way down just to childhood education. Teachers have been saying that nowadays, 20 years ago, you had the top students, and then you had some below that, some below, all the way down to the bottom students, right? And what teachers are seeing now is that the top students are still pretty much where they were. They haven't really changed that much in terms of their achievement. But everything else below them, there's no longer There's top, and everybody else is in the bottom. Okay. And again, it's like I said, yeah, how the society is changing. Nowadays, you have most of these kids are failing because they're not getting the education they need, right? They have both of their parents are working, so they don't have all the time with their parent teaching them that they used to. The schools are becoming more crowded. They're becoming more standardized. There's less and less and less of the teacher looking specifically at you and your problems, and more just here's the standard, take this test, do what we say. So all these kids are being left behind. Whereas the kids on top who, love information and data more than they love socializing or whatever that most people do, they're still, well, they have a box with all the information in the world in it. They're scrolling through that shit all day long, reading, learning. Whereas all these other people who are losing the socialization or the social aspect of learning, really having a one-on-one with the teacher, with their parent, they're falling behind. They can barely read. And it goes up all the way throughout the society. Jobs for people at the top, still good. All the other jobs becoming worse. Financially, people at the top still doing good. Doing better than ever in most cases. Everybody else worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. Disappearing of the middle class. And this, just as you have less and less slots for people to be successful, to people to have fulfilling lives that work for them for who they are, it starts to have chaos. You're putting round pegs in square holes. It's not working out. And in the future, we're approaching a point where we start to eliminate people completely. Okay. Sooner or later, we're going to have robots that can actually do whatever a person does. Even sooner than that, we're going to have self-driving cars. And driving currently is the biggest employer of people. Truck drivers, taxi, DoorDash, gone. It's not going to be pretty.